We back, baby.
Man, whenever you start getting hot on a topic and, these people get to acting crazy, boy. Be careful what you say on Instagram. Uh, it
Yeah, well,
just
we,
might get you unplugged.
you know how that is too, for real.
Oh, no question. We done been through that. Yeah, yeah. So, last time I saw you, you was doing the film thing.
Yep,
Um,
yep, yep.
so what? How you doing with that? You still working on the documentary for the marijuana?
No, I didn't see it back. It's upstairs. Excuse me. Well, um, I was up there and I went up to Humboldt County for a little bit and was up there. I really was up there, to be honest with you, looking for the plug. So, I, I said, man, you know what? I'm going up there. I just went up there on the whim too. So I managed to meet a couple of guys, and they were second generation farmers. There was three of them, and I went to the cribs way up in the mountains and shit. And they knew my history from the Source magazine. You know what I'm saying? White guys, and cool as hell. So the thing that we connected on was hip hop. In their late 30s, early 40s. So one of the guys was from Boston, but he had been living in Ukiah for almost 20 years. So I sat there with him, and I kicked it with him, man. We smoked. And I said, man, wouldn't this be, I know that there's a lot of documentaries on weed, but I said, there wasn't too many documentaries that kind of bridge the gap between the actual growers and their lifestyle and the actual kid on the block and their lifestyle. You know,
Right.
my first case ever was like in, I think, 81, 82. I had, we was doing the nickel bags, the little manila envelopes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I came out the house, selling for some Jamaicans, actually, you know what I'm saying, where they would have abandoned cribs, and in the corner of the door, they would cut a little wood piece, and they would slide the window door, we would slide the weed, and then we would put the wood piece, like right in the corner of the bottom of the door. And so this was like, when
That's the
I was
same way
on,
we sold crack the same way.
yeah, just take the little block and just put it in the corner of the door.
Yeah, yeah,
Same shit.
yeah.
So when we was on the block, I would take my manila envelopes, and if a car would come, I would have my fruit punch. This is when we had the cartons of fruit punch. It was a carton. So I would have about a good 7 of them in the carton, and then I would have my stash kind of like, close. So when a car would come, I'd run over there, get the fruit punch, see what they wanted, give it to them, the car would take off. The first, see, back then there was no black cops. And this was like 81 in Boston, and I was in Dorchester. It wasn't too many young black cops, so any white cop or car that came, we would know who they was. Mulligan, curly top, a bunch of Irish guys. It was all Irish. So, they couldn't catch us. 9 times out of 10, they come, we out. So it was 2 young dudes. This is how they got me. I finally got caught. So I never forget, they came, and I was like, man, what you want? He grabbed my wrist, and this other man came. One had a bed, and they said, you're under arrest. I said, oh, man. So they must have been looking, so they got the fruit punch box. When they took me down to the station, the Sarge told him, you didn't find nothing on him. You didn't find nothing on him. The fruit punch boxes are going to do it because it wasn't on his person. But they were rookies, and they didn't know that, and they were pissed. What happened was I had an L.A. Dodgers jacket, and I had a bunch of manila envelopes up in the sleeve. They never checked me. I'm sitting and getting ready to get let out, and I'm at the desk at this point. They took me out the cell. I'm at the desk, and somehow, some way, when they grabbed my arm to take me out, they felt all the bags there, and I had about a good 30 of them up. And then that was my first charge ever for weed. It was in 1982, 81, 82.
Yeah.
Yeah. Possession with intent.
And you couldn't get that jacket. You couldn't get rid of the jacket.
Man, I was
Oh, you was
so,
gonna hold on. Hey, you was gonna hold on to that weed.
I had it because they didn't search me. So I'm thinking the whole time, like, shit, this is all right. I might be able to do this. They couldn't, the sergeants telling them, the old white guys tell them, look, the fruit punch box wasn't on him, so we can't keep him. They was pissed, and the next thing you know, man, and man, they was happy as hell. They got one of their first busts on me and shit. And since then, we called them 21 Jump Street because, like, they was the young black dudes, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, they was the first young black cops to come around our way with that shit. And they got me. To their credit, they got me. But, man, if it wasn't for the Sarge grabbing my arm and finding, because they didn't know, they just searched me around my waist. They had no idea shit was in the sleeves.
Yeah. I remember them days. We used to have the bomber jackets and have stuff all in the around the edges and around the liner. You know, when I was in elementary school, that's why I used to hide all my candy. Cause you know I'd be in the school eating candy, and the teacher would be like, "Where that candy at? Give me that candy." I'd take it, and when she turned her head, I'd throw another one in. So I know exactly what you're talking about, man. I see you doing a little modeling now too, huh?
Nah, you know,
Man,
I mean, shit, man,
man, you
listen,
don't stop. Hey, you
man,
don't stop.
I'm 54, man. I feel like I got in the gym. I feel, you know, I've been through a lot, man. So I feel like, you know, a lot of times, you know, when you go through shit, you know, man, you know, because a lot of people don't know, when I was with the Source, before we locked the Source, you know, I got indicted by the feds. You know, there was a major investigation going on. And they had investigated me and Dave for almost like, I'd say about 2.5 years and spent millions of dollars. And it was to the point where they interviewed over 160 people from Boston, federal penitentiaries, New York, the Source. So 160 people gave statements. We used to go downstairs, and they would be the two guys sitting there. They used to follow us, and we knew it. They thought that I was laundering money for the Source. They offered me 25 years. They went to my mother's house, told my mother that I should take the 25 years because they was going to hit me with the RICO. It was 2 bodies. It was extortion, money laundering. They thought that I was running this big drug ring, running it through the Source. What they
I
didn't
remember that. I remember it's all in the paper.
what they didn't know, though, see, and it was the same thing with Murder Inc. At this point, the feds really didn't understand how much millions of dollars we was making, and that's where they messed up at. They didn't know that hip hop was making that much money, and that
Right.
the reason Irvin and beat their case and the reason I beat my case was under the same premise. They went in there thinking that they had it because of all these millions of dollars that was being spent, but they didn't know that hip hop was that big. And in our heyday, we was doing $2 million a month in advertisement. So, you know, I mean, shit, you know, I was doing my hustling through my father, Jamaicans, myself in Boston, but the money we was making from the Source, I never hustled like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I got up to a couple of things, and I was, you know, like my father was locked up. He'd introduced me to a bunch of guys. I knew a lot of the mafia when I was little, you know, because I was doing little runs back and forth to the north end for my father when he was locked up. The Angelos, the Patriarchas in Providence. I'm actually named after the Godfather, Raymond. His name is Raymond Patriarch. My father named him after him. So my father was connected with a lot of these guys. And, you know, I used to remember taking little notes. I'd go visit him in Danbury. This is before Danbury or Raybrook changed over from a woman to from a man's to a woman's penitentiary, but he was there. And I would take little notes, stick them in my ass, and then take them to another penitentiary and go see Raymond Patriarca Jr., who took over after his father. So, and pass it on to him. Like, you know, so I was like kind of exposed at an early age. But the situation with the Source was our accountant wore a wire for 8 months. After the criminal broke down, then that's when they indicted me for tax evasion. So it was 2 separate, you know, it was the criminal one that broke down finally, and then it was tax evasion. And you know, they offered me 3 years. They said, well, you know, the most I can get is 5. So I figured, I said, you know what, I'm gonna spend some more time out here with my kids. Let me just go ahead and take it to trial. I had a few dollars left over, you know what I'm saying? Hired this Jewish attorney, Leonard Sands, out of Miami. And man, we fought it. And the guy Dave hired the guy. Now, we giving this guy $150,000 a car allowance. He's the only real, like, he's a white guy from Jersey that Dave hired. The Source had an editorial side and it had a business side. The editorial side, of college kids of all colors, of all denominations. The business side was Dave, a couple other people, and this guy, George Moore, who was the accountant. The wire he wore was, I noticed that he used to always wear this like name tag with a number on it. And I'm thinking he was the only one in the office with that. And I'm thinking maybe this is some accountant shit. But it was a wire he wore for 8 months. They said they approached him in Dunkin' Donuts to wear the wire against me. And the only reason that he could give him was he said he thought it would be an adventure. He thought it'd be fun. So he came, got on the stand, testified. He wouldn't even look at me, and ultimately, an all-white jury found me not guilty. I still had to pay the fine, but I beat a tax evasion case.
Congrats. Don't many
Man,
people do that. You one of the few.
it's crazy.
You
I
know
went and got
when
this. Hey, I went and got that the day after I went to Miami and got that right there, not guilty. I was proud of that. It was a little piece in the paper. When I got indicted, it was on the front page in Boston. When I beat it, a little piece in the back. I said, ain't this a bitch?
Huh. I already know how that is. You know, when I got to the feds, dudes was telling me, man, if you're not guilty and you can get 10 years, take it. And they was giving us so much time downtown LA, man. When I got there, it was frightening. They was throwing out life sentences like it was like,
Nothing.
oh, y'all want another pancake on your plate here. So, man, it was tough. But during that time, man, is when I first found out about the source. I think you guys were like 2 pages, maybe 4. I don't quite remember, but it was only like, and it was like on printed paper, right?
Yeah,
It wasn't even a magazine then. It was like on printed paper, and but I tell you what though, everybody passed them pages around, man, because everybody was trying to keep up. You guys got to where you was like the source of the streets for dudes in prison, man. We used to love reading the source, man. We used to keep up with you.
Man,
All the way.
you
And
know,
when you got indicted, we always pulling for you, man.
man, I
But like
appreciate
you
that.
say, I never
Appreciate
knew
that.
what happened because they never publicized it.
It never got put me. It was real low. You know, when I went on trial, I didn't want nobody to come because at this point I said, man, I was just happy that the criminal broke down because when they was offering me 25, I'm saying to myself, I'm like, there's no fucking way. I'm like, there's no way. I'm saying, because this came out the blue, take 25 years or get life for the RICO? Huh? I couldn't believe that shit. And I just was like, so me and Dave sat down. I said, Dave, because Dave's asking me, are you sure? I said, Dave, look, there's no fucking way that this shit will stick. And one thing I could say about Dave Mage, which, Dave is responsible for the source. I could say, I've had a lot of guys, I've had a lot of comrades, but he trusted me enough to believe in me to say, well, look, we're going to fight this and go all the way because, Dave's a Jewish kid from Harvard, from D.C. He was nowhere near this life. So when the feds are coming to him, they're telling Dave to turn on me. Dave's saying, wait a minute, this is my partner in the magazine. They're like, well, come on, this guy is, and we heard, so Dave didn't turn. When Dave didn't turn and said, look, I'm going to stick by you with this, that was the turning point because I knew they didn't have money laundering, extortion. The 2 bodies was in Boston. That was years ago. And I'm saying to myself, I just didn't see it. So we just rolled that out. And eventually that shit broke down, man. So that shit was
Man,
crazy, man.
how did you and Dave, first of all, how did y'all hook up?
Mhm.
And then how did you guys come up with the idea to do the Source magazine? And did you know it was going to get as big as it got?
Well, I was in Boston. Like I was in a group called the RSO, Almighty RSO, and we guys, some street guys from Roxbury and Dorchester. We was probably like, as far as hip hop goes back then in the early 80s, we was like one of the only crews that was, block parties, and we would go to abandoned houses and set electricity up and we was really into hip hop. So we was pretty big as far as within our hoods. Dave had heard about us. He was going to Harvard at the time. And there was another, Emerson College was a place where a lot of big radio people, Stephen Hill, Wendy Williams, they all went to Emerson College because at that time it was like Emerson College was the place to go if you wanted a big career in radio. So Emerson College used to do this charity thing where groups from Boston would all come in and people would call in and give money. So we would come perform live. Dave came and met us up there and interviewed us. From then, we just forged a friendship. I used to go to his dorm, and he had a partner named Jay Schechter. Me and Jay really didn't get along too much. Jay was a whole different guy. Dave grew up in D.C., so you could tell Dave grew up around black people. You could just tell his swag was different. Jay, on the other hand, was, he was trying to be a rapper, and he was a white guy. We just was a different guy. So I would go in there, man, and me and Dave would kick it, man, and Jay would have weed. I'd take Jay's weed and shit. You know, we was street kids. You know what I'm saying? We up at Harvard just having fun. It wasn't nothing malicious, nothing. But Jay, every time we would come, Jay would just leave and shit. So me and Dave got real close. I think I
I
had him
would
at
too if you was taking my weed.
True story. True story. So true story. Jay used to have the bomb ass weed. So we'd be like, Jay, where you getting that from? He's like, look, there's a guy on here that sells it. I can hook you up. I was like, yeah, I need a half pound of that, Jay. So he told us where the dorm was. He called the guy. So we went in there with I think we had a fake gun. I think we had a fake gun, man. We said, man, get under the, he had bunk beds. Get under the bed, man. We took all this weed. We took his weed. Jay was mad. Dave was mad. We just couldn't. It was the opportunity. Hey,
I
man.
guess
Listen,
Jay thought you just took his weed.
Hey,
He didn't
listen,
know you would
Ross,
take his buddy's weed too.
come on, man. Anybody else would have did the same thing up there. Yo, we like, man, he got what, pounds? And he's in a dorm at Harvard. And he was like, we opened the door. He's one, you could tell he had money. You could tell by his haircut, the blonde haircut. Like he had that movie star blonde hair. I got money. We said, man, get your ass under that bunk bed. Took all this. So Dave was doing a radio show at Harvard called Street Beat. And my DJ at the time was his DJ. He had 1 hour on a Saturday. And they developed the Source as a one-page newsletter. It was one page, and it had KRS on it. And his first advertisement, he got $200. Like, Dave was smart. There was a record store called Skippy White's in Boston. That was the biggest record store that sold all the shit. So, you know, you couldn't be a white dude and just be coming through the hood. So I brought Dave through the hood. You know what I'm saying? Dave got to go to Skippy White's and get advertisement. And, man, he just kept it going. Then he got with his Jay Schechter and a couple of other college guys that went to Ivy League schools, and all four of them pretty much started the Source. Okay, I was Dave's friend. You know, I didn't start the Source. You know what I'm saying? And you know, a lot of people thought, but it didn't. The partnership between them broke up because, as a rap group, you know, we had got signed to like Latifah's label. We had signed to Tommy Boy, but then we got dropped because of our lyrics, because of police shit. A bunch of controversy followed us. But Dave would bring different people from New York to come watch us perform. So we got a couple of deals based off that. So Dave finally put us in the magazine. This is when the magazine got to book form, and he finally did a story about us. And at this point, we had got signed to Tommy Boy. We got signed to Latifah. Steve Stout had something to do. He had just got over at RCA. He had something to do with giving us a deal. This is when Clue was like an intern, and you know, it was like we got a story, and the whole staff walked out on Dave because he put a story out of and said, Dave, you're gonna step down from the magazine. So I'm talking the whole staff of the Source. About 40 people written a note saying that he broke the integrity by putting a story about us, and he has to step down because we're his friends, and that's not how it's done. So they're telling Dave to beat it from his magazine.
From his own magazine.
His own magazine. So he
The
bought
nerve
his
of
other
some
guy.
people.
That was crazy. He bought some guys out. And a lot of these guys are still in the industry doing major things, working for MTV radio stations. They're still around. I mean, they despised me. You know, the relationship at the Source was Dave got these wild guys from Boston, you know, and we're coming up there, but we're hip hop. I mean, I've been in hip hop since my grandfather's basement when I was 11 years old, scratching in the South Bronx. Like my father was born in Brooklyn, and his father was in the Bronx, so I get shipped up there every summer, and that's how when I was 11 years old, I learned how to spin records and everything. So I was heavy into hip hop. Seen the movie Wild Style, I think in '78. I mean, I was heavy. So I'm a street guy, and I'm selling drugs, but hip hop is my life. So they didn't like us, man. And it was just crazy because it's like, damn, well, if y'all like hip hop, but y'all don't like us, who cares if we're Dave's friend? We're a rap group. We got signed to a major label. Damn, you just put us in, at this point, the Source was a couple of years old. This is our first story. They didn't like it. So Dave bought out his guys and changed the locks. It was a whole big thing. It made the newspaper. Then that's when he turned to me and said, look, because I had to go up there from Boston to make sure these people wasn't trying to, hurt them nothing. And that's when he said, look, man, why don't you be my partner 50-50? And I said, look, I don't know nothing about magazines. He said, yeah, but you know about hip hop. And then since then, me and Dave Mays, I brought him to the streets. He brought me to more of a boardroom, to more of a business settings. And the 20-something, was 18 years with Source, and then later on with Hip Hop Weekly. But the stuff that we did together and accomplished together, the story is just amazing. You know what I'm saying? It really is.
Oh man, I mean, most of the biggest artists that ever graced the magazine or graced the stage was first featured in the Source. And I mean, that was amazing. I mean, just imagine if you guys would have locked down every artist that you saw before anybody else saw him. Just imagine how much money you'd have. I mean, I used to watch. I used to read the unsigned hype. The up and comers, all that stuff. We went through the whole magazine, man. When we finished with the magazine, it'd be like in shreds. It wouldn't have a staple in it. And I always thought from the beginning that you was part owner. And then really when they did that story on you, I was like, oh yeah, he did a story on himself. That's his magazine for sure.
It's GQ did a bad story on it. GQ said, look, we want to do a big story on you guys. Me and Dave, we go get the Bentleys, and we draped out. Man, that was the worst story ever. They talked about the indictment. What we didn't realize was that all those early guys from the Source, those editors and journalists, they went everywhere else. And then from then, I was pretty much blacklisted. I mean, honestly, it was hard for me to get my stuff across because these are the people before the internet that are controlling the perception through journalism. And, I don't cry over spilled milk, but when you look back at it, it wasn't fair because at the end of the day, me and Dave's friendship, we just forged a natural friendship. It's not like I was already rapping and into hip hop before that. I don't think it was fair that I was being persecuted because since he's my friend and where that my music or what I'm doing in hip hop couldn't be in the magazine. So to this day, it's always like that. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, what the hell? We had a hell of a run, man. The Source Awards. I mean, like I said, it was like Wolf of Wall Street. The money was coming in so much, man. I didn't even, to be honest with you, it was like a blur. I mean, I didn't know nothing about saving money. I didn't even have a savings account. I was spending so much money and I was helping so many people and hiring so many people and giving away so much that I didn't even realize what I was doing, to be honest. I mean, I had money in Boston through hustling, but this type of money and this type of lifestyle it was out of control at that point. Because, like I said, back then, and this, from the money that you got. And you know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
You can't, coming from the streets, you didn't have vision enough to even understand what you could do with all this money. You know what I'm saying? And that's just where it was for me. And, I don't live with regrets. You know what I'm saying? You live and learn. You know what I'm saying?
And you ain't stopped. I mean, you still you one of the founding members of RSO, Made Men. How did that come about?
I just loved hip hop. Guys from the hood, man. We would go battle. I mean, we would literally battle people. I mean, that's what I'm saying. When it comes to hip hop, a lot of people don't know. My history is from the beginning. My history comes from in the parks, setting up electricity through our lights, and then battling other people with speakers. The Jamaicans would come around with big dresser drawers cut out with 18s in the dresser drawers. This is the era I come from. Spoonie G, and then a DJ is cutting a break beat, and that's when you rapping. It isn't you rapping off of a rap or no, the dude's right there in the park and he's cutting, he's breaking it, and you were on the mic right there. That was the most purest form of hip hop, and to this day that's gone. So that's where I come from. And I always loved hip hop. I mean, regardless of the controversy and all the crazy shit that I've been through, people don't understand my love and knowledge for hip hop, and it goes back. So sure, there was a lot of crazy shit that happened, but man, the RSO and Made Men was probably the most proudest moments of my life because I had a group of guys and we was making amazing music together, and we was the real deal. Everything we rapped about, we was. And shit, I mean, those days was the best days of my life, man, because after that, man, things break up and friendships break up and all kind of shit. Everybody gets on. You get your, I mean, life goes on, but it's like that camaraderie that you have with your guys growing up is something that, man, I mean, money can't buy that. And those are the memories that will always stick to me. This new shit, I'm just adapting to it. This new
Yeah.
type of world, it really ain't for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just
Yeah.
trying to adapt, you know?
So you're surviving right now.
Pretty much, bro. Pretty much, man. You know what
How
I'm
many
saying?
albums did you do altogether?
Man, Ross, I've done so much music, man. I know what we did. We got signed to Jay Prince. Jay signed us. Went down there, Texas, lived down there for a couple years. We was, then we did a Made Men album. That was one album, and then the group broke up. And I mean, after that, I did a couple solo albums. And the crazy thing is, I never seen myself as a solo artist, but I just, I made a couple of good songs. I worked with a lot of amazing producers. Michael Jackson. I got with Teddy Riley's. Almost everybody over at Bad Boy. I mean, I've worked with almost every producer you can imagine back then. So, I mean, I had money and I was spending it. I was spending it on collaborations. I was spending it on music. I got a one album deal on Motown. Kedar had signed me. That was amazing. So, I mean, I've had some pretty good accomplishments, man. I mean, everything to me all revolved around the music, even the Source Awards. Like, I've never won a Source Award, and that's my award show. And I definitely did have a hand in the awards and the making of the awards. As time went on, I started getting more into the developmental of the Source, like the Source Behind Bars. That was my idea. A lot of the Source Awards type of thing was my idea. The Source TV show with Lisa Ray Tretch was my idea. So I did a lot for the Source. Dave got a lot of credit for it, but that's just how it was. And I didn't care about that, as long as I was eating.
Source Awards was huge.
It's crazy.
You guys were right up there with the MTV Awards and the BET Awards. I mean, um, I remember we watched it every year. What happened? I mean, why did
I mean, well,
I know the ratings had to be high.
well, let's take it from the Source magazine first. After, once, like I said, in our heyday, man, we was the biggest thing ever. We was the internet before the internet. We were so big that other magazines like XXL and them was just trying to carbon copy us. What these other magazines didn't have, this is what a lot of people don't realize. The XXL never had a Benzino. Benzino came from the streets like everybody else. Like we're all the same. We all come from the gutter. We people of color. We come from nothing. Hip hop and hustling made us have a way.
You had to go out and come back. You had to go out and come back.
And in all actuality, they was genius. He got with a couple of guys and they said, hey, look, we should do source.com because the internet, this is when the internet first came. And because we can get advertising off the internet, it'll be computer. And I mean, they had, because what's exactly happening now, that's what they visioned back then. The only problem was it just was new, and all those along with that crashed. They borrowed $9 million, it ballooned up to 30 million. We took a trip to DC. Bob Johnson had just sold BET. He offered us 55 million. Me and Dave, right in his office, he said, look, I'll write you a check for 55 million right now. And he left the office and let me and Dave talk about it. And we're sitting there and we're like, well, and we're calculating. Well, we owe the bank 30, so that's 25. Taxes is going to take half. We kind of owe a few other things. So when it all comes down to it, me and Dave would have probably split about 3-4. He would have got 3-4 million. I would have got 3-4 million. But that would have been it. Because Bob said, look, we want you guys that out of it. That's it. That's what nobody understood. Bob Johnson, Black Enterprise, even Queen Latifah's group that tried to buy the Source. Everybody didn't understand that the reason the Source was what it was because of the relationship between me and David Mays. And that's it. There was a lot of other people in there, like journalists, great journalists, who contributed to it. But the fact that you had this white kid from D.C. and this, half black and Puerto Rican kid from Boston, who was a street kid, that come together, that was the magic of the Source. We made mistakes, of course, but as far as the authenticity of the magazine was because of that. And a lot of people don't understand that.
And then a lot of the competition came as well. The Vibe came, XXL. Yeah. I mean, the magazines started to pop up from everywhere. Everybody started doing magazines.
They were soft. Yeah, I mean, nothing the matter with it, but they was soft. XXL was just a carbon copy, Coke, Pepsi, but Vibe was just a more softer version because, it had people, again, Source. That's why the awards was so dope, because there was no award show that repped the streets like that. Nobody celebrated grimy niggas like we did, and women and grimy chicks. Nobody. These are the people that they kept off TV. Even though hip hop was big, it still wasn't being accepted on the big award shows because they wasn't accepting street niggas.
Right, I agree.
We gave street niggas that platform to come on, and I remember when BET got it. So when BET got it, I'll never forget this. We did a deal with them, a 2-year deal. And this was, to be honest with you, this was the only time the Source Awards made money. All the Source Awards prior to that lost money, but we built it up to that final one with BET made money. But then after that, Black Enterprise took it over and it was gone. We could have sued BET. I told Dave not to. Let's keep the relationship, and then the next day BET came out with the BET Hip Hop Awards and copied our whole shit. But when we did it with BET, they sent a bunch of producers in a meeting, and I kicked everybody out, ripped up what they want to do, and I put the lineup on. And when you look at the old Source Awards, there's nothing. There's no BET award. There's no VH1 award. There's no award or MTV that looks like the Source. Period.
Now, how did you get on Love and Hip Hop?
Love and Hip Hop. Me and Stevie had been friends. He had been coming down to Miami. I was living in Miami for a while doing some work. After we lost the Source, me and Dave bounced to Miami, started Hip Hop Weekly. We had a few dollars left over. Hip Hop Weekly did all right, but it wasn't like the Source. It was kind of like, the beginning of the end of magazines anyways, because of the internet at this time. So went down there, kicked it with Stevie, did some music. Then I came up to Atlanta because, I hadn't been to, Atlanta. It was something like, I loved Miami, but I just didn't come to Atlanta too much back then. I came through when we did tours, but as far as to sit down, I just was like, I didn't really know too much about it. So I went up there. I said, look, I'm gonna rent a house for a couple of weeks. Come up there, we do some music. And then he had just casted for Love and Hip Hop, and then, I was bringing him to set, driving him to set and shit. And I remember telling him he was actually going through the situation with the two women, and he would still have his mic on. So I'd be in the parking lot sitting, waiting for him to finish the scenes, and he'd come in, and I'd be there. He's trying to tell me his problems, and I'm telling this nigga, I'm like, look, nigga, you gotta choose one, nigga. It's simple. You can't have them both. I'm telling him that. So they heard that and said, look, would you say this on camera? And I said, yeah, why not? And that's when I said the famous scene where I was like, you gotta be monogamous. And then from there, you know what I'm saying, I just started doing scenes, and the rest was history,
Yeah. So wasn't nothing that you planned on doing, it just happened?
Hell no. Hell no. First of all, Love and Hip Hop was really a show for women. It really wasn't no guys on the show. Like, me and Stevie were really the first kind of like guys to do scenes on reality TV. Because those type of shows, the Basketball Wives, Love and Hip Hop, they were all about women. And if there was a guy, it was who they was messing with, but they wasn't getting, surely two guys wasn't doing scenes together. So me and Stevie really was the first to start doing scenes on urban reality TV as kind of like, especially us, guys, you know what I'm saying, of the type of guys we are. So, I
Yeah,
mean, it
no
worked
doubt.
out for a while, you know.
Now, what was it like having cameras following you around everywhere you go? And
I've
especially
been,
being in a relationship too, like every move you make is on camera.
I'm just at that point, I was a wild boy. You know, I still was just like, you know what I mean? The cameras don't mean nothing. I'm gonna be me, and sometimes I don't even know the camera's there. I'm just gonna be me. See, I think people do reality TV. They see them cameras and they switch up and they change. And that's where they fuck up. You got to be you. If the people don't like you, then you out of there. But if they like you, then cameras don't mean shit. You know, I don't even see the cameras. I'm gonna be who I am regardless. And you know, if they like me, they like me. You know what I'm saying? It worked out. You know what I'm saying? I just don't see that. That's why I think I was good for reality TV because I don't play up for the cameras. I'm gonna give you exactly how I feel. You know, good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah. You think you're gonna be doing any more reality TV shows in the future?
Yeah, well, you know, me and my child's mother just did Love Goes out there. We just did out there Heart. We just did Love Goes. It was on the Open Network. Did really well. It was a brand new show, and did really well. You know, it was trying to me and out there have been in a relationship for almost 7 years, and just trying to people understand how I feel for her based on all these shows that what we went on, and just trying to get the relationship back to where I would want it. You know what I'm saying? So we went on Love Goes and tried to get some more therapy, and that was an experience. You know, we had been on marriage boot camp, but like I said, I mean, first of all, these shows are an opportunity. They pay good, most of them. And when you go on reality TV, it's about how you're going to be perceived to everybody. So, you know, I like I said, I go on there just being me, and even being open about love and about a relationship. I felt like I've done so much in the streets, and I've been through so much. So I really don't have nothing to prove. I can go there and be vulnerable and be who I am, and because a lot of guys, I'm trying to show a lot of young guys now that you know you can be in love and you ain't got to be hard, and you can feel for a woman. You know what I'm saying? You could actually have feelings for a woman. So hopefully a lot of guys see me, and I know a lot of guys have seen me. That still doesn't. I'm still not going to lie to the audience and try to be hard. Like, oh man, I go get with another chick. You know what I'm saying? So like, I just try to be as real as possible, and it works out for me. You know what I'm saying? I enjoy doing reality TV.
No doubt, no doubt. Do you think your relationship with her would have worked out had you not been on camera so much?
We met on reality, basically on reality TV. Basically, I mean, we met. We got on Love and Hip Hop. What people don't know, that season was the biggest season of all seasons in the history of Love and Hip Hop of all cities. That was the biggest season. The season me and Out There was on. And then that reunion was the biggest show in the history of VH1, not just Love and Hip Hop. So, a lot happened on that. You know what I'm saying? So, me and her we have a, when you think about it, and we've been on about 3 or 4 or 5 shows together, and people have seen us love each other and us go at each other. And I'm talking all over the world. So, of course, you want to think that if we wasn't on TV, it would be, I would think that because maybe not, but we've been on so much TV. It's just been a part of our life, and you know, she's always going to be a part of my life because she's my child's mother, and I do love her dearly. I mean, so we have to see we just have to see what happens, like for the future. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt, no doubt. Now going back into your history with Eminem, y'all had some pretty bad feuds. How did that start?
You know, the Eminem thing was more or less like, all right, I'm from Boston. When you look at the civil rights movement on TV, it's always in black and white. Okay. When you look at Boston racism and marches and everything, it was in the 70s. You can go to YouTube right now, and that shit's in color. I was a part of that shit where people would get bused to white schools, and then people would come out in those towns in thousands throw rocks at the buses and turn buses over and jump. I mean, it was crazy in Boston. Boston was the south of the north when it came to racism in the 70s. We talking, this ain't the 60s, the 70s. So I seen that racism. The flip side is my father has introduced me to men that I'm looking up to so much. These are like my heroes, these mafia guys, and even a lot of Irish guys, Jewish guys. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it like, damn, like I'm looking at it like, okay, well, people are racist, but when I'm looking at these guys, I don't see that. So it's like, I know I'm not racist, but I don't like racism, and I recognize it. And I was in you know, growing up in Boston, you see that shit. You see the inequality. You see how the white people get all the jobs and how the black people don't have shit. And how, I mean, you grow up in that shit. So automatically, it's not easy. You know, then now when you're going through the bus and just to go to a decent school, so you can, just so you don't go to a rat infested school with guns and all kind of crazy shit going on, niggas drinking everything. Hey, let me get shipped out to one of these schools out here a half hour away, and then next thing you know, the whole town is trying to kill you. So the Eminem thing was when there was some guys up at the store playing them, and they was, you know, I remember Mark Wahlberg, Mark Wahlberg. He was in a group called the Funky Bunch, the Boston Music Awards. Now we knew we was the hottest shit in Boston. RSO, Made Man. They let this nigga win the music award, so we was pissed. Like, yo, what the fuck? He came out with one song, like nobody, you know. And, you know, of course, he's the biggest megastar ever. Salute to Mark. You know what I'm saying? But as far as that goes, you know, you could just see the racism in that situation. So I knew I already had kind of like a revolutionary side in me. I always had that. I used to listen to I used to listen to Bob Marley heavy, you know, growing up. Even in Parliament Funkadelic, you could hear it. Just that 70s pro-black movement, black power movement. You know, I felt that at a young age, and it felt good. And here I am. I'm light-skinned, but shit, I got a hair, and I'm picking my hair. I'm black. I'm going to the thing. It's saying black or other or white. I'm black. When you know what I'm saying? Back, you know, when you were going to school. So
Well, that's how everybody else looked at you too.
and that's how I felt. So when the Eminem thing, I felt like he's a good rapper, but man, you know, they're just giving him, they just going a little bit too hard for him. And then I kind of knew about the people backing him, because I'm this isn't just about me. People gotta understand. Yeah, I'm a rapper and everything, but then I was in the back with Russell Simmons and Leo Cohen, and all those guys had to come through me. They all had to come at the table with me and Dave. We did mega deals with all these major guys. Leo runs YouTube. Russell, everybody knows him. Everybody. So, you know, I'm watching it, and I seen how they try to do it with Vanilla Ice. I seen how, like, here it is. Rap music was made from black and Latino people. It's us. It's ours. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to mind. Okay, the white people are coming to hip hop. The white people are buying into black people. The powers that be say, well, wait a minute. If we give the white people a white rapper, then shit, we could get all the white people and all the money, and it would be mega big. But when they do that, they take the white people away from the black people. And I always knew that. And see, when Eminem came out, it necessarily, you know, again, I come from the battle world. So I'm like, this kid's cool. But at the end of the day, he's not our lifestyle. Like, he's a rapper, but hip hop is more than rap for black people. This is our life. This is how we dress, this is how we talk, this is how we do everything we do is hip hop. This is in our life. That's not in their life like that. It's different. Even now, it's different. So I just was like, you know what? Let me say a couple little words about this kid. So I put a couple little words on a song, and man, it killed him. I mean, he was pissed off. He did a whole mixtape. So now I'm like, wait a minute, okay, oh shit, let me make a song. I made the song Star from Starbuck Wild. It was called Pull Your Skirt Up. Star from Starbuck Wild played that shit 100 times one day and started a holy war. Like, now mind you, Hot 97 was fucking with us. Flex, Angie. I mean, I was breaking bread with them. There was, I mean, it was beautiful. Our relationship was beautiful. Once this kid went at me, it was like, who's this dude talking about me? This dude. Like, they interview him and they're referring to me as this dude. So I'm like, damn, word? I'm like, he carries that much weight. He's only been in the game this long, and this is how y'all are feeling about this guy? Nobody would go against him. Nobody would touch him because he was a great white hope. Like, they did everything. And my feeling is he could rap, but if he was black, motherfuckers, he wouldn't be as big as he was because his type of rap isn't what the hood likes. We don't elevator and masturbator and we really ain't about that. Now, I'm not disrespecting saying he doesn't have skill. He has skill, but if he was 5 shades darker, he'd be Cannabis. And Cannabis never that big. He'd be another backpack rapper. They was in a rap group with Eminem when he was younger in Missouri. He wasn't even from Detroit. He's from a little hick town in Missouri. And we're doing all this investigation now. So we found out where he was from. He wasn't from Detroit. We found out about the song. They used to do this thing called the Rap Racist Hour, where they be talking about porch monkeys and horrible shit. When I got the tape, I'm like, oh, this is what we needed. I'm like, okay, this is the battle at this point. Jimmy Iovine and them found out I had the tape. Jimmy Iovine calls for a meeting. Now, people were saying that Jimmy Iovine was gangster and the mafia. I said, well, you know what? Let me bring my father to the meeting with us, Dave. So me, Dave, and my father went to the first meeting in case he tries to bring up some of this mafia shit. You know what I'm saying? I got my guy. So Jimmy's like,
The
look,
real
man.
deal.
He's like, look, Ross, he's like, look, why do you want to save the world, man? He's like, look, man, Marshall's not into all that. He's like, he just wants to make rap and hip hop. So he made the tape. He was young. He didn't know. I said, well, wait a minute. I said, Jimmy, this isn't, y'all are building this kid up to be the #1 rapper, but he's making racist music against us. And which I found out I did more homework that Jimmy Iovine made a song called Rock and Roll Nigga. Look it up whenever you get a chance. He was in a rock group and he wrote a song called Rock and Roll Nigga. So Google that. This is when he was in his 20s or something. Believe me. So that meeting didn't go good. We came back and did another meeting. He said, okay, look, I'm going to offer you, if you don't put the tape out, I'm going to offer you a record deal for you and a record deal for the Source. Because we was doing Source hip-hop hits. And we did it with Def Jam, and it was a huge success. He says, I'll give you a lot of money. And he just signed my son, Ray Ray, who's 26 now. He signed Ray Ray to Interscope with Baby Pun's son. And Ray Ray was like 9 years old at the time. So I said, man, he said, just think about it. I said, well, look, I want to meet with him. I said, I want to sit in a room with him. I said, because Jimmy, I think it'll be great if we could sit in a room and these kids see us together. It'll be great for race relations. He said, Marshall, his exact words was, Marshall's not going to do that. So it's either you take this deal or...
Go do your work.
So I didn't take the deal.
Yes, that's all you have to do.
They sued us in federal court not to put the tape out. We was going to shrink wrap the cassette, make copies of it, and put it in the Source. They sued. First they said he didn't make the tape. Then they had to say, well, he made it when he was 16 years old. Because he's calling bitches black bitches and white bitches are better and black bitches are hoes. And he's rapping and, you know what I'm saying? It's an old tape. So We won the case. It was a landmark decision, but the judge said you can't put all of it. You can only put 30 seconds of it. They had to pay for our lawyers and everything. They was really upset. Something else that never made the press. But we had beat Interscope. So we put the tape out, and it just got a bunch of, if people got the tape, it was shrink wrapped. We put him on the cover with a black eye, and it was like, this is like the real Eminem or something like that, KO'd, I forgot, but it was shrink wrapped. We had a plastic wrap where you could buy it, and you'd have the cassette in it. And it had 30 seconds of him saying, black bitches, nigger, and saying all kind of shit, because I had to splice up shit from a whole hour tape. After that, man, we got to sell out some of our stake now. Black Enterprise bought it, then they kicked us off, and that was it. The rest was history.
Yeah, well, Interscope had all the power.
Yeah.
At that time.
They say they can't hear us again, yo.
Yeah, it's going in and out. Okay. But we heard a lot of it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we heard a lot of it. It was definitely a lesson that I had never heard about. I had never heard about that. Yeah. It's amazing that but I mean, now with hip hop is not what it once was.
Right.
And you've been not quite my age, but close. Back in the days, if you would have stole somebody's lyrics, you'd have been out of the business.
That's right.
Fast. On your head.
Right.
But now not only can you steal lyrics, but you can use fake names and fake stories and all kind of stuff, and everybody applauds you and go to every show you do and all the rest of the stuff that they do to these fakers till you make it. I'm hard on fakers till you make it, and you probably know why. But,
I mean, it's a different time. I mean, listen, my thing is, you're a legend in the game, and I think, everybody knows the situation. No matter what, that is your God-given name. That is your birth name. So it's still,
no doubt,
the history will still go down as that. As far as
no question. I mean, the way I look at it is he goes down in history as the guy that stole Rick Ross's name.
Listen, and you see, and your name has done amazing things. Like, the BMF movie's about to come out, but people don't understand what you did back then. It really eclipses a lot. You know what I'm saying? I still don't think people know the magnitude of what you was doing, and how it kind of affected everybody after that. The whole country and the scope of crack and cocaine, and it as far as it being in the hood. See, people don't really understand, and I'm just hoping that, I've seen a few documentaries and everything, and I just think that there's still a story to tell, to where is that the story will get out so that you can get the just that you deserve.
No doubt. I'm gonna get it out. I ain't gonna stop. I'm gonna keep working on it until I can't work no more. So you can believe that it's coming. We're working on the script right now. We're also working on a scripted series. But I won't stop until I get my just due. You have any new projects that you're working on right now?
Man, I'm just, like I said, I opened up a restaurant, 2 crab traps, one here in Atlanta, one in Chicago. I'm about to drop an album, finally. I got an album together. I have a big woman following, so I kind of, made an album, like kind of age appropriate. You know what I'm saying? If I could say that, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because right now, hip hop, I think, is the first time where hip hop has grown up. So you have 2 demographics of people now to where, sure, we can listen to the young guys stuff, but we're older now. So we should be able to have a whole radio station that just play. You see, I don't like radio stations playing old school music thinking that no, we could still make new music at this age. See, they got to stop with that old shit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that was all the record labels anyway. It wasn't that the audience stopped wanting to hear that music. The record labels wouldn't put it out no more. So
Right.
and most people don't want to spend their own money to put their projects out. I mean, I see it all the time. They put their money everywhere but into themselves. And I'm glad that you decided to do your own record. I'm thinking about doing a record too. And you know, I never thought about singing before, but I see all these other non-singers and non-rappers
Come on,
doing it,
man.
and I
Why
said, well,
not?
shit, I might take a shot too. You know what I'm saying?
Damn right. You know what you could do? What you could do, use your relationships and get all different rappers to do, you know, a song with you singing on the hooks. I think that'll be dope.
That's what I might do.
Yeah.
You know, I done a few features. I done matter of fact, I'll be featured on Freeway's new album when I was in Philly. He
Okay.
came in and grabbed me and said, "Man, you got to come
Okay.
to the studio and give me a little something." So I got a little taste of it already,
That's
and
hard.
I'm really considering getting down because I do have some music aspirations, and I believe that that I can pull it off, man. Hey, can you lead the youngsters with a little? I mean, you done gave us a lot of wisdom and a lot of background and history and everything already, but just a little wisdom for the youngsters before we leave.
I think, man, if I can give anybody wisdom is, man, get more socially out there in the world. You know, get off, put this phone down and them computers down for a minute. And don't, you know, what was. What wasn't, this could be smoke and mirrors. And I'm just afraid that this generation is growing up without the guidance of OGs and older people, to where is that they're growing up under their OGs is this device. And I think that disconnection of reality, you know, can be the demise, the ultimate demise of us. We've survived a lot as a people, but if this